Hi everyone and welcome to Mach 5 channel. My name is Daryl and today we're going to be looking at the pre-flight cockpit setup of the Boeing 737-800 Zibo mod in X-Plane 11. If you like what you see here today, please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any content. On the Mach 5 channel you can reference all my video tutorials, guides, and gameplay neatly organized. Thank you for watching and I hope you enjoy. Okay, so we've just entered the flight deck. First thing we're going to do is establish AC power. So we'll put the battery switch on. Ground power is available. So we'll connect the ground AC power and the electrical system is all powered up. We'll move the IRS switches to nav. The on DC lights will illuminate, then extinguish, and then the align lights will illuminate, which tells us that the IRS is aligning. Just going to verify that all the switches are in the correct position and lights are either illuminated or extinguished as required. Going to put on the emergency exit lights at this time. Going to arm them. And sorry about that, turn the park brake. Verify that the park brake is on and we have sufficient brake pressure. Next thing we're going to do is go down to the FMS. Select FMC, Boeing 737-800. Starts off on the ident page. Boeing 737-800, 26K engines, and the database is obviously out of date, but that's okay for what we're doing. It's a U13 software. Go to the pause init page. This is to set the initial position for the IRS. So we're in Detroit, so I'll put KDTW. I'm going to clear this nav data out of date. We're aware of that. KDTW in the reference airport. Next page, we can grab a GPS position. We'll use that to align the IRS. And we can see that's reasonably close to the center of the airport. So we can set that as our IRS position. Detroit automatically populates in the scratch pad. Put Detroit in the origin. I'm just going to do a local flight today, so we'll put Detroit in the destination. I've got United paint scheme on this airplane, so I'll put United Airlines Flight 500 for the flight number. Planning to depart off of runway 04 right. And I'll even put the arrival in right now. Detroit ILS 4 right. And I'll put FAVA in there just for some extra waypoints I want to look at once we get airborne. We may or may not use them. I'm going to activate and then execute. And if you want at this time, you could also go to the legs page and just verify that things look okay, and then carry on. Next, we're going to go to the perf init page. We're going to set a cost index. This would be on your flight plan, but I just set a cost of 50. It really doesn't matter what you put in there. The higher the number, the faster it's going to go in cruise, anywhere from 0 to 100. Is what a cost index number normally would be. For reserves, that would also be off your flight plan. I'll just put in 2 for now. As far as weight and balance goes, we got a zero fuel weight of 47.0. So I'll head back to the FMS here. I'll put 47.0, and we have just a little over 10 tons of fuel, so 57.1 for takeoff. That's our gross takeoff weight. I'll just plan a cruise altitude of 5,000 feet, and I'll execute that. The rest of this stuff is not critical to have. N1 limit page. This is where we basically set our thrust reference. The engine display shows a temperature of plus 14, so that works for me. I'll just put 14 in there in the outside air temperature, and I'll use a takeoff too. That just gives us a little less thrust for takeoff, so we don't climb out as fast. Go to the takeoff page here. We use flaps 5 for takeoff. That's the most common flap setting for takeoff. If you had a short runway, you might use something like 15 or 25 if you required it, based off of a takeoff calculation. We'll just input the FMS generated V speeds here. We'll get back to the AVI tab and input and get the takeoff center of gravity. That's 22.7%. So 22.7, and we'll enter that into the center of gravity. That gives us a trim setting of 4.65, so we can set that now. 4.65 on the trim. It's pretty much there already, so that's done. Go to the second page here and you can set acceleration height and your thrust reduction height, and those are typically just 1,000 feet each. Oh, I must have put too many zeros. 1,000, 1,000, and engine out acceleration height is 1,000 as well. And that's pretty much it for that. If you had a flight plan, you could verify that the distance is close and the fuel overhead your destination is acceptable. I'm going to go back to the takeoff reference page, and I'm going to get my V2 is 138. I'll go up here and set 138 knots in my MCP. And we're now ready to do the pre-flight scan. I'm just going to clear my caution panel. So pre-flight scan, basically we're just going over all the switches and lights to verify that they're in the correct position and illuminated or extinguished as required. So we've got nav, IRSs are still aligning, so they shouldn't be too much longer. We're going to put the yaw damper on. It's normal to have those two lights on. These all normal. Check the fuel. We do have fuel in the center tank, so I'm just going to throw on all of our pumps right now. We'll be pretty quick for getting set up for engine start. Got the APU on its way up. That's starting. It's normally a no smoking sign, so I'll just put that on. Seatbelt sign can go on. Window heat can come on. Energize the B electric system. Sorry, energize the B hydraulic system. We don't energize the A hydraulic system for pushback because that could interfere with the tow crew with through the nose wheel steering is off the A hydraulic system. Okay, so the APU is up and running now. APU generator is available. So we'll run the electrical system off the APU. Packs to auto, isolation valve open, and I'm going to put the APU bleed air switch on. The dual bleed air light will illuminate, and that's fairly normal for this situation. So I'll just cancel the caution. And now the APU is supplying conditioned air. APU bleed is supplying conditioned air to the aircraft through the packs. Set an altitude of 5,000 feet. Landing altitude is about 600 feet here. So yeah, 5,000 feet for our cruise altitude. I'll put these lights on. And seeing normally we put the anti-collision on right before engine start, but I'll just or right before pushback, so I'll just put that on right now, and we can set minimums should be in the barrel position. Well, we don't need those really for takeoff, so I will I'll clear the barometric minimums from view there, and the altimeter is 2992, 2992, and 2992. We've got about a 10-mile scale, so I'll just leave that. I'll put the terrain on. Flight director on. The first flight director that gets put on, that decides which side is the master. That's why that light's illuminated. So both flight directors on. Put the left one on first. And I'll select the max bank angle to 25 degrees. Continue along here. I will the fuel used reset. RTO, anti-skid to RTO, or sorry, auto brakes to RTO. And we got 3 green with the gear handle down. Speed brakes stowed. Thrust levers idle. Flaps set to 0. We already set the trim, and the start levers are in the idle, or sorry, in the cutoff. Detent. Stab trim cutout switches are normal with the guards up. Fire extinguishing panel for the engines and APU is normal. The cargo fire panel, normal. You can set your VHF communication frequencies now. Same with the nav frequencies as well. And ATC switch and the alt switch to 1. Set the transponder code here and go to alt on for taxi. And the stab trim override is guarded. And just set up the MCP panel as required here. So V2 is 138. We have 138 set, and we're not going to use LNAV for takeoff. We're just going to use heading select. So I'll arm the VNAV, and we got 036 degrees runway heading, 5,000 feet set. And basically we are ready for pushback. I'll bring us back here to a taxi lane, and that looks pretty reasonable there.
Hey Captain, let me know where you want this thing.
Oh, I guess I didn't have it set properly, so there we go. There.
Great news, Captain. Your tow's coming.
Perfect. So they're on the way here. And in the meantime, we can just make sure that we haven't missed anything. I think everything looks good. Here comes our tow tractor up ahead. He's going to connect. You'll see the nose raise up a little bit, and then he'll request for us to release the park brake. Once we do start the pushback, that's when we'll
All right. Looks like the doors and hatches are closed, and we're ready to connect.
Let's go to the Avi tab here and make sure I did close, that the doors are closed. Yeah, it looks like they're all closed. That is correct. And actually where I should be looking is up here. That's all the door lights. So all those lights are extinguished. That means all the doors are closed. And the nose is rising. You can see it rising up there, so...
Welcome aboard, Captain. Toes connected, bypass pins inserted. Go ahead and kill the parking brake when you're ready to go.
Alright, so we will disengage the parking brake.
Here comes the pushback. Light them up.
And we can start up the engines. So we'll packs off. So we'll be using the APU. The APU bleed is on, and the isolation valve's open, so the APU is supplying bleed air to all the ducts. We'll hit the number 2 start switch to the ground position. And we'll start the engines. N2 starts spinning. Once it reaches about 25%, then we can move the engine start lever to the idle detent. There it is. There's our fuel flow. The fuel flow EGT is coming up. This is our engine start limit, that little red tick there. N1 spinning. Oil pressure is increasing. Looks like it's going to be a good start. That little click was the starter disengaging, and that red tick, when that little red tick goes away, the start sequence is complete. So we can go back up here and start the number 1 engine. Engine start switch to the ground position. Once again, N2 to 25%. Engine start lever, idle detent, fuel flow, EGT, N1, oil pressure. And once again, once this little red tick here goes away, then start sequence is complete. Number 1 engine is normal.
Just about done here. Go ahead and set your parking brake.
Alright, so pushback's complete. We're going to set our park brake.
And we're disconnecting the tow. Give me just a moment.
And once the tow is disconnected and away from the aircraft, we can complete the after start checklist and start our taxi. That concludes our video today on the pre-flight cockpit setup of the Boeing 737-800 Zibo mod in X-Plane 11. I sincerely hope you enjoyed and very much appreciate if you click the like button as well as subscribe to the Mach 5 channel. On the Mach 5 channel you can reference all my video tutorials, guides, and gameplay neatly organized. I will be publishing new content in the very near future, so keep an eye out for those, and in the meantime, fly safe. Cheers.